I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!"
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm the dude, so that's what you call me.
Let's go get sushi and not pay.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Hoo-ah! And welcome to another episode of Furious Cinema Podcast. I'm Pete Roberts, and I'm here with my co-host,
the PBR Streetgang.
PBR Streetgang. And I'm with Seb.
Yeah, how's it going?
My co-host on this adventure back into the Nung. Is it the Nung River? I think.
Yeah, we're going up the Nung River today.
Going up the Nung River, and today we're going to be talking about one of our all-time favorite films, Apocalypse Now, and we're going to be talking about like Vietnam movies and Hearts of Darkness, the documentary on the movie about the movie, and just kind of like a little bit of everything in that genre, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah, I got the movie playing in the background actually on mute. How about you?
You have it the movie playing in the background?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, I watched it. Rewatched it. I rewatched the Hearts of Darkness last night, and I listened to the audio commentary for the movie by Francis Ford Coppola, just to refresh myself. So, but I mean, I've seen it so I have to say this movie was one of the first movies I really became obsessed with back when I was like in my 20s. I mean, I watched it over and over and over again. I just loved it. It was like one of my most favorite cinematic like epics like back then. I mean, it still is, but that's like one of the things this is one of the ones that really got me into movies more seriously back then. So,
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
The thing is that obviously because I'm much younger than you are, for me the Apocalypse Now love affair started due to the fact that because of its runtime, I think that the TV channels in my teenage years, they would show it at night or very late night, maybe even after midnight. So on more than one occasion, I watched Apocalypse Now after returning from the clubs or the bars.
Oh, that's awesome!
Like
cool.
Half drunk, and
that's
you know
always
how
the
it
best way
goes.
to watch it.
Yeah, you're like, okay, let's watch this for a couple of minutes and then go head to bed.
Right.
But it's Apocalypse Now, so you watch it from start to finish, and then suddenly it's 5 a.m.
Then you pass out at 5 o'clock in the morning.
But it's Apocalypse Now. You cannot look away. You cannot switch it off.
You definitely can't when you start watching it. It's one of those movies.
But we both obviously grew up on the theatrical version.
Yep, I did. But then we were saying, like, later on they released the Redux version. We always talk about that, like how the good parts and the bad parts, like the positives and negatives of it. And like you were saying, like it adds another aspect to it. And I think we were talking about more like if you're watching it at home versus in the theater. I think in the theater it would be kind of tougher to like get into it. But when you're at home, you can kind of relax and you can. You know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to like the French plantation sequence and all, like you were saying, like it's just easier to like get into. Like you're a little bit more patient with it. But when you're in the theater, it probably doesn't play it quite as well as the theatrical, which has a good pacing to it. That type of thing.
It may also be a factor that when they made the movie and when it came out, the expectation was of a war movie.
Right,
Whereas
right.
over the last couple of decades, I think audiences and expectations and also the recognition of the movie has sort of evolved, and it's no longer just looked at as a war movie, but as something much more. And I think now when people watch it, they're much more open to sequences that were originally considered as, sequences that would slow it down or distract from the action.
Yep.
The plantation sequence is a perfect example because it takes you out of the river, obviously. But for the Redux, because I just listened to Coppola on the audio commentary, he said what they removed from the theatrical version is not what they put back in for the Redux version. This is already much shorter, much more optimized. And for the final cut, which came out a couple of years ago, it's even shorter now. So if you watch the final cut now, which is by some considered to be like a nice balance between the shortest and the longest possible option.
It's not quite as extensive as the other.
If you watch it now, you have everything sort of in there, but maybe not to its full length.
Right.
But
Yep.
you know, you know me, I'm in the longest possible version camp. Usually, I want to see everything that was filmed, and
Right.
I'm a huge fan of the plantation sequence with all its political and historical content that is in there. But that, you know, granted,
Right.
last thought of this, granted, this may have been a lot for an audience in
Right.
1979.
I think that's what it was more like, it's not that it wasn't good, but it's just, the average audience wants to see, like, have the pacing be, move along, so you're not just like, sitting there like bored. You know what I'm saying? It just the original cut, I think, just has that where the other one doesn't. It's more of like more in depth, like more like it focuses more on minutia of stuff, and but like you were saying, it gives a background to, like you were saying, like when they go to the French plantation sequence, it takes Willard and the crew out of their mission, men on a mission aspect, and then it kind of like gives them more of a like a historical information, like on like like how they see like what they're doing, like that type of stuff, like how they see from their perspective
Yeah,
what the mission is. Like,
another thought that just came to me is that the plantation sequence is one. Then there's the other bunny sequence, which is
Right.
also missing from the final cut.
Okay.
And both the plantation sequence and the bunny sequence are sequences where when they. Okay, so one step back. Usually the movie follows the logic where when they get off the boat, they get into trouble, right?
right. Yep.
So, but for the plantation sequence and for the bunny sequence, it's not that they get into trouble, but in both of these instances, that's a theory of mine. It's Willard learning something about himself, right? In the
Yeah, that's
plantation
true.
sequence, he smokes an opium pipe, and he realizes that he's just this, he gets a broader historical perspective on his mission. And with the bunny sequence, I think it's sort of you see Willard as someone who sometimes he also wants to have some fun or whatever.
Right. It's kind of like a goofy, like they're kind of like goofing around and stuff. I just remember them like being like in like
it's a
tents, and they're, like, they're
human
flirting
sort
with
of
the girls or
addition.
something or whatever.
The one Lance, I think, is painting war paint on one of the girls, and
Yeah, it's like almost like a
They're
little
fooling
like
around in
love-in
the-
sequence or something. But I mean, but it's like that's like one of those things where like if you watch the original version and it's so exciting with like when they go to the Playboy, event, like with all the people, all the guys watching the girls dancing and stuff. But then like if you go even further with it, I think it kind of like takes away like the excitement of that. If you just if they're just hanging out and like it takes away like the mystery and the the excitement of it, basically, for me, when they go like
and
and
also
just hang
I
out
think,
with them.
yeah, and maybe it breaks with what you said, is that the journey upriver is going back in time. I think
Right.
some of these outages they break that. I think the plantation sequence works because going back to the 50s.
Right,
which is
that's
like
part
that
of the
for
going back in
the-
time aspect, like kind of.
Yeah, but the bunny stuff in the mud doesn't really work. In
No,
that logic.
it doesn't really. It's more of like a, it's almost like they're doing like, pom pom girls, like in the middle of like a war movie or something. It's just like doesn't really make, and it's not really that entertaining. I don't think. I didn't really think it was very, as
Yeah,
far as like
yeah.
the characters go, you're not really like, oh wow, that was really exciting and fun or something. It's just kind of
And
like.
I think
a goofy,
also
like,
that's why when
Clark
he
type
went
thing.
back and made the final cut, he left it out.
You left that out of the last final cut. Okay, I see.
Yeah, the
That was
bunnies
probably a
in
good
the
idea.
mud. Even though he explains that this is the one thing that they filmed during the typhoon,
Right.
because it was real rain.
Oh yeah, that's
you
what I was
know.
gonna say. The typhoon. That was kind of tied in with that because it was like all destroyed and kind of like raining and stuff, and you could see like how messed up it was.
So let me ask you this:
Yep.
when we prepared for today's show, you mentioned that the movie doesn't have opening credits, and
Oh,
I have
yeah,
to
right.
admit that before you mentioned that, I had never really noticed, or
And
never
that's
really thought it.
And I was thinking, like, is there any other movie I've ever seen where there's just no credits at all at the opening? And I can't think of any other ones. That's like probably the only movie I've ever seen where it's like there's just no credits at all at the opening. I just thought that was
Yeah,
kind
I
of an
mean,
interesting little
Because
detail.
today's today's trend is, if you go to the movies now and watch the contemporary flick, they also
Right.
don't have him. They just have him later on. They move
Yeah,
him to the end because the kids today, they don't have any patience, so they get right into the action.
I actually
But
kind of
this
like
one-
that
this
myself.
one really doesn't have any.
Yeah.
at all.
But I mean, I kind of like the idea of just like jumping right into the movie like that. I mean, I was thinking about that the other day, not in connection with this movie. I was just thinking, I was watching some other movie and it just started. I can't remember which one it was. I think it's like the Anderson tapes or something like that. But it's like, you know, this you see the whatever the MGM line or whatever the studio is, and then it just jumps right into the movie. And I just was thinking to myself, I love that when they do that in movies, where it's just like starts and there's no like big long credit sequence and like, you know, opening, like that type of thing. It's just I like that.
I just thought, like in my memories, that the opening sequence would have like at least small titles, but it really doesn't.
It's weird. It's like it would be weird to like now I'm thinking about like what it would be like if it had like credits. It would be kind of strange. It would be like, you know, Marlon Brando, Martin Sheen, and like as like the background's exploding with like fire and like napalm and stuff.
You know,
it
would have the following text. It would have and introducing Lawrence Fishburne.
I know, and he was really good. How old was he when he did this? Like 14 or something? It was crazy.
Yeah,
he was like really like a little kid.
There's the story that he must have lied about his age, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to hire him or something.
Yeah. He went from Cornbread Earl and Me right into like this Vietnam War epic. It was just like crazy. Like, he must have been like, you know, culture shock or something when he went over there.
But also, like, I have to say the casting is perfect because. We can talk about the Harvey Keitel thing later, but if you just imagine the patrol boat as a car and the movie as a road movie, it's this mix of characters that would drive each other nuts in like a camper mobile or a car, but now they're on a boat, they're living on a boat.
And Willard is so like wound up. He's like, you know, he's like a, you know, he's like. Yeah. Ready to
because he knows what's coming.
The
other ones don't actually know his mission, right?
They're kind of like they're just like, oh yeah, we're gonna have this guy like tagging along with us, okay? And like, you know, as it goes on, they kind of realize that he's kind of like a, you know, something's like he's not like the normal like soldier or something. You know what I mean? He's kind of like. And they know that he just has a vibe about him. Like I think even Chief says, like, you know, I can look at you and like, you know, I see like, you know, something's not right or whatever he says, something like that. Like, you know, things are gonna get hot or something or something like that.
Good point. And I would imagine if they made the movie today, they would have a
Charlie Sheen.
They would have a scene early on where he would just reveal his mission to the crew, and that would be like some.
It would be more traditional, like a
critical moment
movie or something, probably.
And you know we all know these movies that you have part of the crew that would just sort of quit the mission, the other ones would support it, and then you would have one or two characters that would be like, I'm not sure if you can count on them, you know.
Right.
But this is like a completely, they're just taking up the river, and then suddenly, oh shit, they don't know what's going on until, at least in the theatrical cut, he calls in the airstrike.
Right,
and I think that's something that I often forget. I have seen the movie a million times.
You mean the Ride of the Valkyries sequence, like all that area stuff?
No, like in the end, like in the theater.
Oh, the end, yeah. Well, you're skipping way.
Yeah, right. I'm just saying that I keep.
You're saying they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and I keep forgetting that they don't know.
Yeah, and like when you think about it, even when Dennis Hopper shows up, they're still like, okay. We're like, what are we doing here? Like type stuff. Like, what are we doing here, Chief? Like, you know, because they're kind of just like taking things as they happen. They're not really because actually Willard is just kind of sitting there like reading all his dossier stuff to himself, and he's not telling anybody about all this stuff. He's just keeping it to him. So it's weird. It's like they must be like, what the hell is this? What the hell are we doing here?
I wonder if what's his name, the Hopper character,
the photographer guy.
Yeah, I wonder if he smells it because, as we know, Willard is not the first guy they send in.
Yeah, that's Scott Glenn was the other guy. Is that who it was? The other assassin guy. I think so.
The photographer, he must think,
he's probably seen he could have seen a few assassins come and go. You know what I mean? Who knows? I mean, he might have seen. He can just tell just by.
What game is he playing? Right.
Right. Like he's kind of like the little. He's kind of like Marlon Brando's sidekick in a way, like, you know, like kind of like, you know, his little pal like on the side, like that's like watching everything happen. But
And the thing is, I'm not sure if you've read the novel, but a couple of years
No.
ago, I made it a point of rereading the novel, and I think, especially because I'm not an English native speaker, but I find it an extremely hard read. In terms of
Heart of Darkness, or
Heart of Darkness,
yeah.
extremely hard to read also linguistically because it's a very old-timey book, right?
It's
But
Joseph
it's
Conrad. Yeah.
but it's fascinating the parallels between the novel and this movie adaptation
Yeah.
in terms of what you just mentioned. This do we know the motivations of the guy who's going up the river? Who knows the motivations, and who are his allies, and who may be his antagonists?
And who was there like a Willard type character in that story, or was that like just made for the same
it's
idea?
just,
Like,
it's he's kind of a, I forget if he's a war correspondent or a trader or a seaman or something.
But he's not like an
rather.
assassin, though, is he?
No,
Or
not that. But I don't want to spoil anything. But there's
Yeah.
something similar in
Yeah.
there. But it's a short book. I recommend reading it.
okay,
But as we know that for Coppola, this had the same standing as the script, and he would always have a copy of the novel on set. And he
yeah, it's
would
like
read
inspiration
the
to
novel
like.
to Brando also,
Right.
who showed up unprepared.
Would you say that the book inspired like more of like the end part of the movie, or was it like just the whole thing? Because I feel like that's real. When Kurtz comes in, that was more of like the Heart of Darkness part, like right in a way. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
I couldn't say. I mean,
Okay.
they are very different in a lot of
Right.
ways, but it's the nature of the descent into darkness
Right.
that's sort of similar, and also the madness and the culture clash. I think in the novel, there's in the novel the contrast between the colonizing culture and the colonized culture is a lot more pronounced than here.
Right.
Where in Apocalypse Now, there's hardly any contact with the Vietnamese. They're just side figures, right?
Right.
They meet him on the river sometimes. They shoot him up, but they don't interact much.
Right. And I was watching Hearts of Darkness, and the whole thing of them taking drugs and stuff. I thought that was really like something that was really interesting to hear, like how Sam Bottoms was like taking like acid and stuff. It's just interesting. It made it like it almost kind of reminded me of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, they're both kind of going on a journey, and it's like a real war, and that was in Las Vegas obviously. But I just kind of like was thinking about all those types of movies, like those stories. Back in that time, and it was they call it the first like rock and roll war, like we were saying. So it was
Exactly.
it has that vibe to it, which is another thing that I think it appeals to us, because like we love rock and roll and action, and it just has like that. Other war films don't have that. Like it's more of like traditional. Like, and another thing I want to talk about was what was the first like Vietnam movie? Was it the Green Berets? Was that the first like Vietnam themed movie? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. They may have been earlier ones, but I think you're touching on something that's really, really essential when we're talking about Apocalypse Now, or
where it falls in that genre. Yeah.
It's not just a good movie about some war.
Yeah.
It's a war that has lent itself for cinematic exploitation like no other war ever.
Right. There's so much crazy stuff going on. It's like
and I think it's all like I think part of it, obviously, is the nonsensicalness, geopolitically, whatever you want to, however you want to explain it. The second part is that it's the war comes at a point where you have counterculture, you have racism, you have the Cold War and everything, and you send mostly young people into the jungle.
Right.
And it's not a situation that the U.S. Army or U.S. Armed Forces in general were prepared for in any way.
It's very insane, like the way they did everything.
The whole setup is insane, and obviously that leads to a lot of things, including soldiers taking drugs, soldiers fragging officers,
surfing on the
surfing on the break, and then
water skiing. I mean, well, they were surfing too, but they were water skiing too.
And also, just from a tactical perspective, this was a war that did not have clear front lines. So
Right.
you had a large part of the armed forces was always sitting somewhere trying to kill time. And obviously they imported all kinds of stuff from the States. They flew
Right.
in all the beers, they flew in the
The
Playboy
music and
bunny,
all that.
the music and the
Yeah.
drugs.
And it's
And
crazy. It's just,
maybe even, I don't know, I'm not an expert on the drug trade, but maybe they were even closer to the local drug trade.
they probably had heroin shipments going on too there. Like,
Yeah.
like
I mean,
if we connect it to like American Gangster, I think like weren't they taking like heroin from putting them in body bags or something like that from Vietnam, and they were bringing it back
exactly.
home,
And
like all that type of stuff is part of it too.
yeah, and don't you remember the Mel Gibson movie Air America, where
Yeah, Air America.
The CIA was always known for very creative ways of financing their secret ops, and the drug
Right.
trade was probably one of them.
Oh yeah, I mean, geez, I mean, there's so much crazy stuff going on, and you know,
But just in terms
really
of
depicts it well in the movie.
iconography, for
Yeah.
us as consumers, we associate the Vietnam War with rock and roll,
Right.
with the Canopy, with Napalm, with Agent Orange, and all these bad things, but
Right.
also with Jimi Hendrix and Adrian Cronauer. Good morning,
Right.
Vietnam.
Good morning, Vietnam. I mean, there's so many like Full Metal Jacket. We can go on. We can talk about so many different Vietnam movies, and there's so many like good ones too. The Deer Hunter, and all those awesome movies.
Oh, the Deer Hunter is.
I mean,
up
they're
for
all
a
like part of
rewatch
the.
for me.
Yeah, I mean, but like Colonel Kilgore, I mean, he's one of the main characters that really stands out like in pop culture. I mean, he's just such a I love the smell of napalm in the morning. It's such a pop culture icon there.
That brings me to one thing is also the movie obviously is full of great quotes, right?
Yep.
And his napalm speech is one of them. But I
Definitely.
just noticed that rewatching it again is there's a part of the napalm speech that usually gets neglected that is so important for the Willard experience. He says, it smells like victory. And I was
Right.
like, that's what people quote all the time. But then he says, he takes a small break and he says, someday this war's
War's
gonna
gonna
end. And then he
Yeah.
walks off, and Willard is like,
Kind of looks at him like,
What the fuck?"
Exactly. It's like that's exactly what he looks like. He's like, what the hell was that? Type thing.
yeah, Kilgore is some kind of character.
It's
man.
like he's like it's like he's this big macho like tough guy, but then like he has a little bit of like he kind of like takes a little bit of a little bit of what am I trying to say? Like he's a little introspective like type thing, like like looking, someday this war is gonna end, and he's like okay, whatever, that type of
It's
thing.
such a random thing
Yeah,
to say on the
it
beach
is.
too.
It is.
Like, what are you saying, man? Like,
Right. I mean, that whole section of the movie is one of my favorite parts. I mean, definitely like that whole, when they attack the village with the, the Ride of the Valkyrie sequence, and that whole part is just crazy. And like he's telling people to surf, like get on your surfboards, and like all that type of. They're just like, what the hell? It's like. It's so it's just crazy. But I mean, that's what makes the movie so interesting is like all that stuff, all those little, and a lot of that stuff was based on real events too, because John Milius heard all this stuff from his
Right.
friends and stuff that came back. So he put all those things like the surfing. Obviously, the surfing stuff is John Milius because he was a surfer. So he put all that stuff in there,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is crazy. I mean,
it's
it makes
almost
it so
like
good.
it's almost like Lance is Milius's alter ego.
Right, that type of thing. And I was gonna say, like, Lance is probably my favorite character in the movie because he's like the dude in the middle of this craziness. He's so zen like. He just kind of like goes along with it, and he's like in his own little bubble. Like I just love that.
Lance
character.
abides.
Yeah, I mean he's just so good.
What
It's
is
like,
what are some of your other favorite sequences?
Favorite sequences. Well, obviously I love the Ride of the Valkyrie sequence. I love the tiger, the whole going for picking mangoes in the jungle. I love that whole section when they, and then the tiger jumps out at him, and Chef goes crazy and starts like screaming like, "I just want to learn how to cook," or whatever he says. I just wanted to learn how to cook. I love that part, and I mean, there's a bunch of stuff, and I love the Playboy bunny sequence when they're dancing around and stuff, and the guys are going crazy, and I love all that stuff. I love the. I'm trying to think. The massacre sequence is very memorable, but because that's based on the My Lai massacre, like when they go on the boat and the girl goes to grab the puppy and they end up like shooting the whole boat full of people over there. That's crazy. a crazy sequence. But I mean, that's what makes it the insanity of the stuff that goes on in the movie makes it seem real in a way. You know what I mean? It's surreal, but then it's also real at the same time, like because that's the type of stuff that would happen.
But it's also
even though it's crazy.
It's neither hyper realistic, like I don't know, Saving Private Ryan, but it's also not comically exaggerated, right? It's something in the middle. It's
grounded, but it's also the way he shoots it too. Like I think I almost feel like during like the helicopters, like when the helicopters start to take off, that's where it has like this surreal quality to it. It just it almost feels like the music is playing and it's just almost like you're going into another like dimension or something. It's just so weird. It's like it's very trippy, like to me, that whole sequence. I love
Air Calf.
It's so cinematic. I mean, and I was thinking to myself, to me, like we always talk about Jaws as being like the perfect movie. But I mean, I think Apocalypse Now is right up there with it. I think it's just as far as like how satisfying it is when you're like to see a movie like this. It's just very like it has everything you want in a movie to me. Humor, it just cinematically, it's like it's one of the best cinema experiences I've ever had. Really, I think. As far
it's
as
also I think
me.
it's so finely balanced also in between the serious stuff and the more I want to say thoughtful stuff, and also as you mentioned, there's a few things that are a bit lighthearted, the surfing and so on.
Right. Yep.
And you can watch it, and it's a fucking trip to watch.
It really is. It's like, and I also another movie like I was kind of connecting it to was 2001. I mean, even though that's outer space and stuff, but I feel like they're these journeys, like psychedelic journeys. I guess they all share that. You know what I mean? Not Jaws, but so much. But those two, like I feel like they're all kind of like of that era, like of like just really pushing the limits of like cinema and like going on these wild adventures and like but also like also like looking at like the human experience and like how people react to things and that all that stuff. It's just there's a lot of stuff going on there. But also like when you watch the making of the movie, it's just incredible like how he was able to like you think about all the stuff he had to shoot and everything, and then how it was all edited down. Like he must have had like 5,000 feet of footage. I think how many hours of footage did he usually have? Like 6 hours or something at the very beginning?
But there's
something like that, or 5 hours.
There's rumors of like a 5 or 6 hour rough cut.
Yeah, I heard of that. Yeah, and that's like just imagine like whittling it all down so it makes sense on top of it. You know what I mean? You have to make sense of it all, and it's like just that must have been really incredible, like to try to do that. It's also, just incredible, crazy.
It's just if you think of the movie and all the stuff that's in it, it's such a diverse kind of movie. It's not like
it is.
It's not a very straightforward war movie. There's so many things in there that you're like, holy shit, how did you come up with all these things?
Like if you were watching a regular old traditional war movie, it would be those guys like they'd be like on a mission or something, like in some place in the jungle, and then like then they'd like have like the drama from that. But I mean, this is like on a different level in a way. It's like I think the boat aspect makes it different. Like they're not like on land, going like trekking through the land on foot and like running into like into enemies and stuff. It's like it's almost like an existential journey for them, all of them. You know what I mean? Like they're going from like they're having these crazy experiences that like just they seem out of place where they are. Like it just doesn't seem like the Playboy Bunny thing. Like they're in a war, but they're like going to this concert basically in the middle of the war. That's what it looks like, a big concert with like girls dancing. It's just crazy. Like it's just weird. But that's what makes it so interesting.
And it's existential, like it's also a psychological journey, and part of that psychological journey is not just what you experience, but also how you discover yourself, right?
Right.
So you got the kid on the boat who becomes a man, or you got
Lawrence Fishburne,
or you got the guy on a mission who comes to terms with what it is that he's about to do, right?
Actually doing,
and then he gets to his destination after all the stuff he went through, and then. Not only does he not find what he is expecting, he also realizes that by the time he gets there, he thinks very differently about his mission that he was assigned to fulfill. Right.
Right.
And but to I don't want to no, not to break the moment, but I want to also, because I made a little list of what I thought the favorite scenes are in my end, and I think that fits a little bit into that diversity of things that's in this movie. I like the scene with the roach in the trenches.
Oh yeah, like when they get to the Do Long Bridge. That section. Yeah, that's one of my most favorite sections too. I didn't get to that, but I love that section.
And
yeah, that's awesome.
It's something that is absolutely unnecessary for the story.
Right.
But it adds to the just sheer insanity.
It's like a psychedelic circus, like that's what it reminds me of, a circus, like, and I think even the music evokes the circus, like it's like that weird, like it's almost like a horror circus or something. It's weird. It's like if you watch it, you'll hear it.
It's one of those horror movies where I don't know, they stop on the side of the road, and they really shouldn't have stopped.
They shouldn't stop there. It's like the whole thing just doesn't seem good.
Don't go into that house.
It's like House of a Thousand Corpses or something, or
exactly. That's what I was thinking of.
That type of, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It has like a little touch of that to it.
They do stop there. They will warn.
Okay, we won't go any further with it. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. There's just so much crazy stuff, and I think that's what makes the movie work. And it seems, like we were saying, it seems unreal, but at the same time, it does seem real because that type of stuff can happen. It's just too crazy to not be real in a way or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And I think that what you're saying now is also very true for a lot of the parts that take place on the boat, especially when they go like through the smoke or the fog. It becomes a very surreal experience.
And they're going back in time. That's another.
They're going back in time, but also like they're being attacked with arrows.
Right, and I love that. That's another sequence I love is when because you don't expect it to happen. They're almost kind of like taking a break mentally, and they're like, I think Lance is like taking the colored smoke, canister, and like he's like waving it around, and all of a sudden you see all these, was it like arrows flying out from like the side of the. Like all these, and it's like, oh shit, and like all of a sudden they're in the middle of like a battle, and then all of a sudden, I think one of them gets killed.
And it's like 20 minutes earlier, another scene I really like. He was water skiing to the Rolling Stones.
Satisfaction. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that part.
Holy shit!
That's another great little sequence.
But I do like these psychedelic, those kind of eerie scenes where there's this part where the boat goes underneath that B-52 tail.
Oh yeah, right.
And you hear
it's so weird, like that whole part.
You hear Carmine Coppola's little trumpet.
And I love the dissolves. I love the dissolves shots of the different like stone pillar things, like those those whatever those things are. Those like those totem things.
Yeah. That's a good. And they had the same sort of when the fog goes or the smoke or the fog goes away. They had the same with the plantation sequence too, where the fog goes away and you see all the French soldiers there standing.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I mean, it's really brilliant. I mean, it's the older I get, the more I think this movie is just one of the best movies I've ever seen. It's just so. It's just incredible. Like I just can't. When you watch the documentary of the making of it, like you almost can't understand like how he was able to like pull it all together so it made sense, and it's almost like it's just awesome. I just love it. It's so cool. I mean, the way he did it.
And
that's all I can tell you.
And the thing is that today someone would go out and say, let's make a war action movie, or let's make a pronounced anti-war movie, or let's
that's another
intellectual anti-war movie.
That's another topic I wanted to talk about was what is an anti-war movie? Because Francis Ford Coppola said that you can't really, when you make a war movie, there's action in it. So just by that fact, it can't really be anti-war because people love action movies, and so it's like to make an anti-war movie, you'd have to make it like taking place in Washington or something, like where it's far away from any action or anything. So it's just kind of weird to think about. Like you can't call it an anti-war movie because people are going to see it because of all the action and the excitement and stuff. So it's like kind of weird. It's like I don't know.
Right, and I think whereas, for example, Oliver Stone in Full Metal Jacket, not in Platoon. Platoon. The whole movie is kind of an indictment of what's going on.
Right.
Whereas Apocalypse Now is
it's almost like a celebrate. It wouldn't. I don't know if it's a celebration, but it's like a.
But it's not decidedly anti this or pro that, and it's also not neutral. But it's it's focusing on
I don't even know
what's
what
going on without putting a value to it. It's showing the nonsensical nature of it. How, for example, in a war, if you want to win, maybe you have to abandon sanity and humanity. But if you do that, then what is it that you're fighting for, right?
Right. It makes it like
they wanna terminate one of their own with, as they say, extreme prejudice.
Yep.
Because he had gone off the deep end. But
and then meanwhile, they're all
does-
kind of going crazy themselves. So
but
it's like,
also,
who's
speaking of
who's
going
right,
off
who's
the
wrong?
deep end, but
Yeah.
what is terminating one of your own if not going
Right.
off the deep end? So
Right.
it's sort of holding up the mirror to what's going on, and I
Right.
think that's so much smarter than what Platoon's doing. Is just
Platoon is more like, well, I mean, that was just based on Oliver Stone's time there. He didn't go through all that type of stuff, all the stuff that's in Apocalypse Now, but like that was basically just his almost like autobiographical type thing.
But I think it's just not nearly as smart as a cinematic endeavor, right?
Yeah,
Because
but I
it's
suppose
just-
he probably didn't want to copy it either. Like he probably loved this movie, but he probably didn't want to like just try to do like
just
something
just
like
for
that.
the sake of discussion, right? Where
Yeah.
it fits in that as an anti-pro whatever action movie.
Yeah.
And I think Apocalypse Now is great because it's not really a war movie at all. It's something
It's like an
much-
existential journey or something. Or,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Or something.
and you could have Apocalypse Now in space, which
Yeah.
exists, which is what's the Brad
Two-
Pitt movie?
Ad Astra.
Yeah, it's
I didn't
the
see
same-
that, but I
it's
heard-
the
yeah,
same
I
same
heard.
Joseph Conrad kind of thing, but it's in space, right?
Right. So that's sort of like those are connected. Those.
It's a
And what I didn't see that movie, so I can't really get into that one. But
it's the same kind of
Yeah.
logic that's applied. It's like you
Yeah.
have a guy venturing on a journey to
Yeah.
some destination. You don't know the
Yeah.
motivation necessarily.
Right.
You have sort of change and a sort of psychological journey and everything.
does he encounter like different characters and stuff? I don't know. Like
I'm not sure
I didn't
about the
see- yeah.
characters, but he also he evolves along the way, and
Right.
at no point, at some point, it's clear you can't go back, and it's the same with
Right.
Apocalypse Now, right?
Right.
There's a point in the movie where it's like the last sort of base
Section.
or bridge or whatever, and at any point he could be like, no, wait, I'm out.
I'm gonna turn back. or
Take me,
something.
Colonel
Yeah.
Kilgore, send in the chopper, take me back. But he
Right.
doesn't. He doesn't because I think at some point he's like, he owes it to his inner battle to
Yeah.
fight this out till the end and see
Right.
whether he's got it in him, right?
And there's also a weird aspect where like the two characters are kind of connected, like Willard and Kurtz. Like it's almost like after he does what he does, he kind of takes on Kurtz's mantle or something. That's another
Right.
weird aspect to it, which is kind of
Yeah, he becomes Kurtz in
the
a
new
way.
king or something or whatever. Whatever.
There's
figure
when
you
he-
wanna call it.
when he steps out of the temple with the machete in his hand, he's
Right.
like he's the new king.
Right, the new king. So it's like, but I don't know where that goes, but and then like him and Lance go off in the boat or whatever happens, but then like now in the final cut, did they use the other ending where they blow the whole place up? Is that what they, or is that not part of it? I can't remember.
You know what? I'm not exactly sure now which
Yeah.
ending it has. I think it
Yeah.
has the Redux ending, which is not the airstrike, but
Just got floating off into
the
the river.
the assumption that he probably hacked them to pieces, which is not being shown, and then he just walks out and leaves.
Right, you just drive off or in the boat or whatever.
But I grew up with the airstrike.
You did use that was the one you
Yeah,
saw.
because the theatrical one has the airstrike, right?
It does? No, I don't think
so.
so. No, I don't think so. I don't think that one has it. I think it's one of the other ones.
Oh, the Redux.
But I
has it?
can't
Oh.
remember if the Redux doesn't have it either, or does it? I can't remember that actually. If
need to
the
Google
airstrike
this.
one, I'm not sure if I ever even saw that, but I might have seen it like in like a clip of it or something, but I don't remember which one has that. But then
Yeah,
there's
well, so-
Marlon Brando, who's another big part. Like the whole last half of the movie. I mean, he kind of like takes over the whole with his craziness, with all his stuff that he does. He's like another. Talk about And then
And
he was
it's-
like reading cue cards and stuff, like, whatever you did back then.
They
And
were just
listening to-
improvising the whole.
Yeah, it
movie,
was like kind of
probably,
crazy. And like that's the whole
using-
thing about the movie. It's like once you get there, it's like how do you end it? You know what I mean? That was one of the weird. He must have had like a. And I think at the very end, he just said, you know what? I'm just going to end it the way another movie would end it, just to have him kill the guy at the very end instead of trying to like do some crazy, some other weird sequence. Like he's just going to use the traditional the traditional 3-act structure type thing. I guess that was probably the best way to do it because otherwise it would just be a big mess, I think.
And I think
didn't like-
Milius's original script had more like a Wild Bunch-esque ending,
oh
which
yeah, like an
didn't
action
really fit
sequence.
with the way the movie had developed. Yeah.
That would have been weird, like if it would have been like a Wild Bunch thing, like where they all like where the crew of the boat like takes on the the army of people. That would have been kind of cool if they could do it, but they probably didn't have the money to do all that stuff either. Like all that another big huge action sequence.
Because I think the thing with Coppola and what I think Hearts of Darkness also shows is that he has the Willard experience. He starts out on a mission that
Right.
evolves over time.
Right.
And once he gets to the ending, just like Willard doesn't know how to end it, and Coppola also doesn't know how to end it.
Right.
And so both Willard and Coppola are faced with kind of a decision of how
How do you do this?
how
Like
do
he-
you grapple with that situation? For
Right.
Willard, it's sort of it's more like a battle with himself, whether he's
Right.
got it in him to be like a murderer or whatever,
Right.
or he's also probably questioning.
Well, he's been an assassin,
right,
so that's
right?
not really the. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think another part of it is that he's seeing some of himself in Kurtz or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe he's killing part of himself off or something when he kills Kurtz. I don't know. I'm just there's so many
But
things.
maybe because by the time he arrives there, he's seen so much of the war that he maybe questions whether what Kurtz is doing is so
Right.
far out of the limits.
Right. I mean, it's like, because everything we've seen has been crazy up to that point anyway. So it's like, when he meets Kurtz, it's almost like he almost probably feels a little bit bad for the guy. You know what I mean? Because he just kind of knows what he knows that he was, when he started out, he had he had good intentions to be like, a good soldier. But I mean, being in this environment and this war has kind of like made him go crazy basically. Like where he didn't, before he was like on top of everything. Now he's kind of like, a renegade, crazy guy. I don't know.
Yeah, and Coppola also, like, he sets
Right.
out doing a movie. He has a
that's-
script. He
yeah.
has a story.
Right. That's
Then
another.
he sees all the stuff that happens to the production,
Right.
to the actors. He tweaks the script along the way,
Right.
and he knows that the ending is the most important thing. So he's faced with the same decision. Does he follow, like, maybe his commercial instinct, or
Right,
his
right.
artistic instinct, or does he understand the characters that he has sent into battle, more or less?
He has
as
to be
the
true to the
director?
characters, like what happens
Yeah.
to them.
Because he can't just do what the script says. He needs to.
Yeah.
He needs to realize that he some of these things have now taken on a life of their own.
So he has to follow basically what I think what you're saying is when he started out, he had a clear roadmap of like from A to B to whatever to Z, but as the time went on of shooting it, you have to be true to the characters and like basically let it take you where it's going to take you in a way. You know what I mean? Like he said, when you filmmaking is like asking a question and finishing the film is the answer. So probably by the end, you kind of knew. I think he knew what he had to do at the very end. He probably said, okay, I can either do this or do that, and he chose to do it more of like a traditional, okay, I'm going to just get rid of Kurtz at the end and just tie
in
it
the
all
end,
together. Like,
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning you have Willard on the page, right? And in the
Yeah.
end you have Willard, who's almost like a living person, and
right,
you cannot ignore Willard's motivation
Right.
off the page, right?
right,
He
Because
was
it's-
he was probably looking at the dailies and questioning what was on the page.
right.
I
It's
could,
just
I could
matching
well
up
imagine,
with the,
I could imagine him being in his trailer at night and sitting over rewrites of the ending and be like, holy shit, how do I finish this?
And it's also the thing, like, do I want to end it with a huge big battle sequence and like, that matches the Ride of the Valkyries sequence, or do I want to do something a little bit more primal and like, less like, and I think the way he did it was the best way. Like when they kind of juxtaposed the cow getting killed in the the ritual killing of the cow in Colonel Kurtz. That was kind of like I think that was a really good idea to do that.
Yeah, and primal, I think,
more
is
primal,
the
like,
exact right word.
and that actually matches up to what we were saying, like how they're going back in time. So like,
exactly.
each part,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So by the time at the very end, that's more of like, forget all like the big crazy, technology stuff. It's back to basics, like type of
Exactly.
idea.
The movie starts off with like helicopters and airstrikes, and it ends with bows and arrows and machetes
exactly.
and rituals.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
it's they're going back to the
Primal
instinct.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
And
that makes sense.
that is so interesting. It is so
Right.
far away from like your standard average war movie, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's really like, they're not having like a firefight like in Platoon. I think there's like a big firefight at the end. Remember, like with Charlie Sheen, he's like running around, like going crazy, and this is
or
more of
some-
like a
Or some of the war movies that sort of they transport this whole dilemma aspect and the psychological aspect into the coming home sequence of the movie, which usually
Right.
takes like 40 to 50% of the running time.
right. Like what?
And-
What's
and
an
here-
example of that? I don't know what you.
I don't know, the Deer Hunter, for example. I mean,
Yeah.
you see harrowing stuff during their time
In Vietnam.
in Vietnam, but
Right.
the most interesting stuff takes place when they're coming back.
Right, when they're coming home and like Robert De Niro comes home and he's like, everybody's like, asking how he's doing and stuff, and like you can tell that and actually like when he gets back, he's like the guy that they met in the bar. Remember when they have the big wedding? Like they see that guy that comes back, like that Green Beret guy, and he has like this look like he looks like a ghost or something like that. And then Robert De Niro comes back and he's sort of like that guy now. He kind of like had the same experience. He knows like what it's like to be there and like to go all through that hellish stuff. So
Yeah,
he kind
I
of like
think
became that guy.
One of the
Although he's
few
not so like
Yeah, that's true. One
Not
of the
as
few
good as
movies that are sort of up there with Apocalypse Now, I think, in this regard, is Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah,
which
Full
does-
Metal Jacket.
Which I think does two things.
Yeah.
First, it has a pre-sequence before the war,
the boot
which
camp
is-
camp
which
thing.
is already sort of psychologically loaded.
Right.
And also, it has a lot of stuff in the war part that is also very Apocalypse Now-esque. The Mickey, the soldiers singing Mickey Mouse and
Right.
and
It's
all these
very
things.
like it's almost like when you watch the Vietnam stuff, it's almost like all these guys were like grew up watching like war movies and TV shows, and then they go over there and like they're trying to be like heroes or something, and it just doesn't work that way. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're trying to play like heroes, but it's like that's like the whole cultural, the pop cultural aspect of it, like how they, it's part of their formative years of growing up and like seeing all those John Wayne movies and stuff. Now they're trying to like live that out like themselves for real, and it's just that's what made it sound so crazy. You know what I mean? They don't even know what they're doing. Like
Yeah.
they're trying to live out this some like fantasy or something. But that's, and I think probably a lot of the people that were in charge felt that way too. Like they thought they were like going to go in there and just like clean it out, just kill a bunch of people and like clean it all up. But it ended up being such a huge mess, and like it was just a huge like terrible situation.
And I think very few war movies did a good job in just portraying exactly what kind of a mess this was.
Yeah.
A mess in terms of, in all categories, really.
Right.
Like you can always make a war movie that shows what a mess it is to send young boys into battle and whatever, but this is a psychological level, a pop cultural level, a
Right.
psychological level.
Yep.
You have actually the colonial aspect in there,
Right.
and I want to bring this up again, but if you study the history of Vietnam and the war,
And
in
also the
Vietnam,
racist stuff too, like being
Racist
like
also.
calling all the gooks and stuff, like calling
Yeah,
them,
exactly.
there's all that stuff too.
But with the
Which isn't
plantation
good.
sequence, the war in Vietnam for the Vietnamese
Yeah.
was part of their anti-colonial struggle.
Right.
Because after the Japanese and the French, the Americans were just the third or the fourth ones who've tried to subjugate them. For them,
Right.
it was not about communism versus something else. It was
Right.
shaking off occupation.
Right. Yeah.
That's something that even in the literature and in the pop culture has taken decades to come back in terms
Right.
of realizing
like,
what this
uncover
really
all that.
was. And
Yeah.
Vietnam doesn't have this kind of film industry, so there's not so much that they can
Like
offer
have
to
their own
counter
answer to like this stuff.
their own narrative and whatever,
Yeah.
right? But this is a war that the United States lost, but still
Right.
the dominating narrative is this sort of introspection, which doesn't really. There's nothing in Apocalypse Now about how the war ends, aside
Right.
from Kilgore
Right.
saying someday this
Yeah,
war.
it's just exactly. I mean, there's no like it's not tied up in a nice neat bow or anything. But
Yeah,
but I mean that's part of the story though. At the same time, it's just nothing
Yeah.
really. It's not
It
going to end like in
offers-
some easy
it
way.
offers us a conclusion for Willard, but not for the
Yeah.
war.
Right, exactly.
Maybe
And even
we
like
could-
Full Metal Jacket just ends with them like walking off, like singing the Mickey Mouse song, and it's like okay, and everything burns around them. So it's like there's no like easy, you can't really end a Vietnam War movie with like a happy riding off into the horizon ending. It's just that's not going to happen. Like so, it was very much a '70s movie, like a '70s war, I should say.
MYUSE.
Yeah, it's
Who's
like a very
the leader
'70s
of the
war. You know what I
pack?
mean? Like how we always
I
talk about.
rewatched this.
I know I love that ending. You know how we always talk about the new Hollywood movies, how they always end with like a dark ending, like that's like another one on the list is that weird, crazy ending. Even though it was made in the '80s, but I'm just saying like it was taking place back then, so
And that's
it's not going to end that way.
It's funny that you should mention this because that's something that always kind of puzzles me. Because when I think of Apocalypse Now, I do not think of a movie from '79. I think of a movie from like '69.
Really? Oh, okay. I don't know. I guess.
To me, it seems.
Well, I mean, they started in like they
Yeah.
started shooting like 1976 or something, so it was like it wasn't that far away from the actual war. It was only
So
like a
they-
year away.
I guess it's got this new Hollywood sensibility, but it's got the late '70s
Right.
technological prowess. And
Yeah.
I was just watching some of the extras on the disc with
Yeah.
the Sense Surround by Meyer Sound, and
yeah.
one of the first movies that had like actual surround sound.
Yeah, they did an awesome sound scape for the movie, like that type of stuff. Was it Walter Murch who did the sound?
Walter Murch
yeah.
did most of the sound editing,
Yeah.
and also, I mean, we haven't really talked about the craftsmanship here, but Storaro is one of the
Yeah,
best
I mean that's brilliant
directors
stuff. I
of
mean, it's like
photography ever.
yeah, I mean it's just awesome. It's just amazing. It's just beautifully done. I mean,
It looks
I don't know what else to
fantastic.
tell you.
It still does, especially in this
Yeah.
restoration. I mean,
Yeah.
when
I really want to
watched
see
it-
the final cut. I haven't seen that yet. I wanted to see that sometime.
Yeah, you should. You should. I was lucky enough to catch it in its theatrical run when it came
Yeah.
out, and it's
Yeah.
just because for me it was the jump from seeing this on maybe Blu-ray, but most
Yeah.
likely DVD and VHS recordings,
Right.
to seeing the restoration for the final cut on a big screen with friends and people.
Yeah.
I thought I couldn't believe my fucking eyes, to be honest.
That's
Because
awesome.
it's really, the colors are popping, the blacks are
Right.
black. It looks fantastic. It sounds
Yeah.
like it was filmed yesterday. And
That's
I
so
had
awesome.
I had friends with me
Yeah.
that certainly had no idea about the journey in quality that this movie has gone through over the years.
So they must have been really impressed. with
But
that.
yeah, but without the comparison. But they
Yeah.
they told me like this movie is from '79. It looks fucking unreal.
I know it is. It's like crazy.
And that goes to show that if you really take an effort and go back to like the original negatives and do like a proper restoration that
Yeah.
stays true to the original material, you can preserve this kind of cinema without fucking it up with AI or whatever like they're
Yeah.
currently doing.
Well, I hope they don't start using AI on these
Oh,
movies. Oh my
Jesus.
God, that's another whole other can of worms I don't want to get into. Yeah, but beautiful cinematography and just awesome sound design and just incredible. I mean, just
And the production
just
design
the very-
obviously too. Yeah.
I don't
Production
know.
design.
Francis really had a lot of.
I like the production design too. Like they built an actual temple with actual stones, not
Oh, yeah,
just
the-
cardboard.
Yeah, when you see them like building the stuff, it's like they're like pushing stones across like boards and stuff.
What
like
are
that.
you
It's like,
doing
oh my
there?
God.
Building the pyramids?
How much are they getting paid each day? Like $5 a day or something to do all this work? I don't know how much they. I think it was like $1 an hour or something like for each person, something like
So
that.
crazy. So
Yeah.
I get the role like Coppola, the insane sort of mastermind, but
Yeah.
also he was able to surround himself with people who
the very best people, basically.
the
is
best
what it is.
people, but also like they trusted him so much with
Yeah.
his vision through all the, budget overruns and
Yeah, I mean, when you-
the hurricane and
Yeah, the
and
typhoon thing.
everything and
I mean, when you
and-
really look at all the stuff he had to go through, it's just amazing that he like, I don't know what it was up with him back then, but he was like doing The Godfather and like all these epic movies. It was like,
it
I
was
don't
at
know
the
how he did it.
absolute. Like I recently watched the Megalopolis. I'm like,
Yeah,
eh,
I haven't seen
I don't know.
Megalopolis yet. Did you see
But
that one?
this, yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I don't know. One may like it.
Yeah, it
Or
sounded
one
like it was
may
kind of
hate
an
it.
experiment to me, like
Yeah,
more of an
it's
experiment.
Maybe,
you know what I mean?
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe in 20 years they will call it ahead of its time.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'll have to watch it and see.
But here, I mean, you have to consider that, with the typhoon, with the budget overruns,
Yeah.
with Sheen having a heart attack, with
Right.
the Filipino
I know we didn't even talk
army-
about his
the
heart attack
Filipino
or
army withdrawing helicopters to fighting insurgents and everything
Right.
going on, and you have
Yeah.
this one guy. He's so artistically determined,
Right.
and he's surrounded by folks they're not like, no, Francis, we gotta stop this. We gotta shut this
know.
down. You're out of your mind. No,
he's
they're-
the captain of the ship, and they just do,
yeah,
they
he's
gotta
the
do it.
captain, and they're convinced, and they contribute all their best work that they have ever done, probably. And
Yeah, I
the
mean, it's
end
pretty
result
amazing.
is absolutely mind-blowing.
It really is a beautiful
As I'm
movie.
saying this, I'm like, as I mentioned, I had it playing in the background. The movie just came to an
know.
end.
as insane as it is, it's beautiful too. You know what I mean? That's why I like it. It has like that. I just love the cinematography, like, and all the dissolves and all the, the sound design and all the, the characters and like, it was just crazy. Like I love Kilgore and then Martin Sheen's character, like, how he. And also, we didn't even discuss like that whole scene, like when he goes kind of crazy in the hotel room. Remember that, like, at the very beginning. That's another.
Oh yeah. And
memorable
I
part.
was going to ask you, could you imagine? I mean, obviously now it's hard to imagine, but could you imagine Harvey Keitel in this role? I can't.
No, I can't, because I think like what Francis was saying is he's more of like a reactive type actor. Like, he wants stuff to like they wanted a character that was kind of more going to be more observant and not be like in the middle of things, always like taking like the spotlight, or I guess was how you describe it. Like I think Harvey Keitel is more like he wanted to be more of like a in action with with every scene and stuff.
He's more of an
like,
expressionist.
yeah, like more like that type of thing. But Martin Sheen was more of like the quiet observer, like, and you could kind of see the movie through his eyes.
He's more introspective, and I think
Yeah,
that works so
introspective.
much better for his character. Yeah.
Right. I think that just made sense, and that's another thing. All his choices were right. You know what I mean? Like he could have made one choice and it would have screwed up the whole thing, but he just happened to make the right choices for all these things, and that's what helped make it work.
I mean,
other
obviously,
things
a lot
wouldn't work.
of it also could have come down to luck, but I think
Yeah.
it just
I mean,
fell into.
I think a little bit of
place
everything. I
right.
think it was kind of like a little bit. I think he had some luck, like just natural luck from just trying to get through it all, and and then obviously like editing all down and getting it all so it makes sense and stuff is part of it. But I mean, it just takes a lot of people to put that thing together. I mean, geez, it takes a lot of a lot of hands. But I mean, I guess at the end of the day, like he's by himself in the editing room with the editor, and they're just trying to figure it out, like how it's gonna work. You know what I mean? You have all that footage, you just gotta whittle it down and
Yeah, you're like
what I mean,
in the
and
end,
try
you're
to
like a
make a
sculptor,
story,
and
kind of sculpt it into a story. Like,
Yeah, you're chiseling away the
Right.
unnecessary stuff, and you're trying to
Right.
get
trim the fat, as you say. Although,
get the stuff out that it is that you really want to tell the story. It's
Right.
probably there needs to be a lot of chiseling away because they probably had a work print or a rough cut of 6 hours
Right.
or 5 hours or whatever.
Right. Yep.
I would pay money to see that, honestly.
I mean, yeah, it would be pretty amazing.
With Blade Runner, there's one available. But
Oh, yeah,
I still
Blade
haven't
Runner.
I still haven't watched the work print, but it's on one of those extras. For Apocalypse Now, I would pay a lot of money to see a work print that's like 5 hours. Holy shit!
Right. I mean, you just brought up Blade Runner. I think a lot of my favorite movies have like a dream quality, like a dreamlike quality, and I think this one has that. Another, it's like those are the ones I think of. They're just
Absolutely.
they're almost like, they're almost more than movies in a way. You know what I mean? Like it's something like you could never get from a book, or just a, you know what I'm saying? Like it's the format itself is like it's almost beyond the whole format. It's just so like incredible. I don't know.
Yeah, it's sort of a twilighty aspect.
Yeah, it's just a
dreamy quality, more of a
surreal aspect, like a.
yeah, and phantasmagoric.
It's
or
more than
whatever
just a war
Coppola
movie,
said.
like you were saying, you know.
Yeah, Coppola mentioned it like phantasmagoric or whatever.
Right,
I'm not sure if
phantasmagoria. Yeah.
that's a real
Which
word,
is like
but-
it just means like, you know, just kind of like a whole mix of crazy stuff going on, I guess. Phantasmagoria.
And I have to say, you know, you and I, we both watch so many movies,
Yep.
and in the end, we come back to the same 5, 10 movies or whatever.
Yeah, usually.
Because
I mean, really.
what's really lost on so many filmmakers is to just really do away with the constraints and the rules and the conventions that they believe they must adhere
Right.
to, and just, you know, let creativity rip and just,
Right.
you know, put something in front of me on the screen
That I you haven't seen before
Yeah,
or something, or
yeah,
maybe
and
you've
that's
seen
just-
before, but it's not in that way, like in a new way or
that's
something.
really,
or
that's really immersive, and I don't
Yeah.
care if it follows any rules. I don't
Right.
like.
Yeah, I mean, as viewers, we're not looking for. I don't
I
think
can
we're
watch a
looking for that
documentary if I
much.
want the real world.
Although I think, in a way, the way that you're saying that is, I think for me, I love when filmmakers take chances, but I also love when they can kind of like make it into a package, like at the end. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of like the way this one was. It has all this crazy stuff where it's like surreal and weird, and like you don't know where it's gonna go. But at the end of the day, it almost kind of like is all wrapped up, and it kind of works at the end. That's how what you want. I think what you want is to. Although you know, then there's other aspects where like you know it doesn't answer every single question. You know what I mean? But I mean, I don't think it has to answer every single question, but
Precisely.
it should kind of. I think it should. What we were saying before is it should stay true to the characters and the story, and if it does that, then I think you're okay. But I mean, you know,
Right.
if you're always like not sure about that and how to do it, I guess that's where you kind of
Exactly.
get screwed up.
It doesn't have to have the answer, but it has
Right.
to have the what's the word? Not conclusion, but the sort of a resolution.
Right,
of
yeah,
some
yeah.
kind. And
Some type of resolution in a way, but
Here it's, you know, Coppola found a way here, and with
Right.
Blade Runner, I think it's the guy in the end putting the little paper unicorn.
oh yeah, the
in
little
front of the camera, and you're
origami
like-
thing. Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, shit, of course he's also a replicant.
Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, you know,
And-
that's the
and-
type of stuff.
and
It's but like,
and it's beautiful.
but like, what happens at the end of 2001? Isn't it just like the huge baby thing? It's like that whatever that thing is. It's like the huge baby, and then it just ends. So I mean, there's another one where it's like you don't really know what that means, but it seems
You
to
got
make
me
sense.
now.
I
You
guess.
got me now because I'm not a huge fan of 2001.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. You know, it's not my number in my top 10. I mean, I think it's a very good movie, but it's not personally not one of my top 10 favorites. But I mean, I think it's still a brilliant movie if you watch it. I mean, just the direction and the whole, like this movie. It's the same type of idea.
Yeah, and
Just
I think
the
only
making
thing-
of it and everything.
The only thing I think they could have made Apocalypse Now even more perfect was opening credits.
Oh yeah, the opening credits with some rock music over it. Well, actually, they do have rock music over they do have the Doors
do have
playing, so I
that,
guess that
yeah,
doesn't
at
make
least-
sense. But
At least they
but
have
some like upbeat music or something that wouldn't make sense. But
So yeah, I mean, from my end, I think it's one of my absolutely most favorite movies of all time.
Me
maybe
too, yeah.
maybe the top 3 or so.
yeah, I think I think The Godfather probably is in my top. Like that's one of my most top. I mean, this one is up there too, probably in my top 5 probably. I love The Godfather, and and then Martin Scorsese, Taxi Driver, like those movies, and Goodfellas. Like I have all those movies I love.
And it's one of those movies where, for this podcast, it's like you could just, it's so easy to talk about because we know.
I mean, there's so
really
much stuff
well,
that you
and
could
there's-
talk about
yeah,
too. I mean,
yeah,
so many different topics we could go into. It's like you could just go on forever about this movie. Even,
and
we try to touch on a little bit of stuff.
It's got me thinking because recently I wanted to rewatch it, but I think I'm gonna also like purposely rewatch the Redux version and purposely rewatch the theater cut.
Yeah, and the
There's
final
also,
cut. Yeah.
There's also the commentary for the final cut, I think, and there's also a
Oh, yeah.
commentary for Hearts of Darkness. So there's all kinds of pathways.
There's
you
more
can
to
take,
learn. That's for sure.
pathways down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is. I mean,
But my recommendation for you definitely is to read the Joseph Conrad novel, and I'd be interesting to find out what
just
you,
to
what you
hear,
think
just
about
to
that.
find out more about, how the story syncs up with the movie or something. And
And not to spoil, but the novel ends just like the movie in terms of dialogue.
okay. And then
The
there is a
horror.
documentary that Francis Ford Coppola said that was really inspirational. It was called A Face of War. I haven't
Oh
watched
yeah.
it yet, but he said on the commentary that was like one of the big, one of the ones he watched, like, just to see how things really happened and stuff. And he kind of used it as like a little guide for, his stuff, his movie.
There's one Vietnam documentary that I've seen that's also pretty good. I think it won Oscars too. It's called Hearts and Minds.
Oh yeah, Hartson.
It's
Was
also
that
pretty
John
good.
Huston or something? I don't know if was that the one that Paul Thomas Anderson used for The Master. I don't know if that's, or that could have been
I
another
do
one, but
not know, but
I'm not sure.
it used to be on the Criterion Collection. I think it won an Oscar
Okay.
or something.
Hearts and Minds. Yeah.
Yeah, Hearts and Minds.
Okay.
So for both of us, Apocalypse Now is really, really up there with the best. Maybe it's even the best movie. And I think
Cinematic
what
experience, I guess.
experience, it's a real trip also. And I would say that it's not just the best Vietnam War movie. It's not just the best
One of
war
the best
movie.
movies, I think.
It's one of the best movies. Period. Right. It transcends the genre.
Right. It does. I mean, I think I'm kind of paraphrasing Roger Ebert when he reviewed this movie back when it came out. He quoted Francois Truffaut, who said that.
Oh yeah, I got the Ebert review right here. He says that Truffaut said, "I demand that a film expresses either the joy of making cinema or the agony of making
Yep,
cinema.
that's it.
I am not at all interested in anything in between." So yeah,
That's
I think
pretty. I mean,
Ebert
that qualifies.
goes
This
in-
movie qualifies.
yeah, Ebert is so basically is on Team Truffaut here in saying
Right.
that Apocalypse Now is really, really everything about filmmaking,
Right.
the good and the bad,
Encapsulated into one.
and it manages to you know how diamonds are created under pressure.
Right. Right. Or like
It's-
or pearls with clams or something.
Yeah, it's
Typical.
it's like all the shit that Coppola had to deal with.
Right.
He had to deal with them at the pinnacle of his
Right.
creative powers and his
Right.
careers, and he had all the right tools and all the determination, and
Yeah.
what came out of it was a fucking diamond.
Right. And also, it's like he was like Kid Icarus flying too close to the sun. He ended up surviving that. You know what I mean? Like he pushed it right to the limit, and he kind of like survived and got out and made like a nice, awesome.
That's true. I
Classic
mean,
film, you know?
Sheen had a heart attack of some sort, and I think
Right.
Coppola also was close to
Right.
a breakdown at some point.
Right.
His wife,
Like that
Ellen-
picture with the gun. That's like a classic picture of him with holding the gun up against.
Yeah, his wife
You know that-
Eleanor,
yeah.
who shot a lot of footage from
Right.
the making
Documentary. Yeah.
which was the basis for Hearts of Darkness. You
Right.
could see also if you look at Coppola, who is now not so much because he's older, but he's always been a kind of a bigger guy.
Yeah.
You could see that
Lost weight or
there was a phase where he lost a lot of weight. It's just
Yeah,
you
right.
could see that it took a physical toll on him.
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he was like, you could just tell by his demeanor that he was like kind of, I don't know what, he was just like half here, half there, like type thing. You know what I mean? He was just
Yeah.
like, but I mean, I don't know. It's like, those days are gone, filmmaking wise. I mean, we're not going to be getting any, you know what I mean? Everybody's just going to be on the computers now making stuff. They're not going to be doing stuff like that. And again, you know what I mean? That's like old school, like, leaving the blood on the, blood, sweat, and tears, basically, of making
Yeah,
films.
that's
I mean,
true.
no one's doing that anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, even a guy like Villeneuve
That's-
shooting Dune. I mean,
Yeah.
as much as a towering achievement that may be,
Yeah.
that was not. He didn't lose weight or anything doing.
Yeah, I mean,
that.
it's, there's different levels of, this is like a different level of filmmaking that people just don't really do anymore. I mean, I don't think,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think you could do it, but
It's just also, I mean, obviously, it's just because it's so much easier now
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, but
Right.
also it's that on the low budget end, I have to say, my feeling is that on the lower budget end, nobody really tries to achieve much.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean,
People
art
would
house
rather,
movies aren't
like-
really very daring. I mean,
Yeah,
it's daring to
they
like
don't
take
push the
chances and
limits.
do new things. But I mean, as far as like putting your health at risk and nobody's doing that stuff. I mean, everybody's like cushy in their little their little hotel rooms and stuff. I don't think
They're
anybody's
like
suffering
shooting
for their
some-
art these days.
Yeah, or they're like shooting some gangster movie where all they
Yeah.
have to do is point a camera at people
Yeah.
talking.
Right. I mean, it's just it's just a different time period, different level of film. So, filmmaking.
But we're happy that it exists because it makes us happy, and I think Apocalypse Now, for all its
Yeah.
heaviness and everything, it's also a happy place. I can go on
Right.
the PBR Streetgang and be
Yeah,
happy.
it's a crown jewel of cinema for me. I mean, I think it's one of the it stands up with the very best of like all the classic Hollywood films, and it's like the next level of from them. You know what I mean? It's like up the even those old school directors, I don't think would be able to do this. Like the guys from way back when. You know what I mean? And like the 30s and 40s and 50s. I don't think this is like crazy new Hollywood kids like go crazy, half crazy trying to make their movie It's like almost like legendary at this point, that movie. It's like a legendary story.
Yeah.
So I guess that'll wrap up this episode of Furious Cinema Podcast. So thanks for talking with me, Seb, about one of our favorite movies, Apocalypse Now, and
It was a pleasure.
it was a fun time, I mean, like we were saying, there's so much stuff you could talk about, and you could talk about for 5 hours on this one, But we have to kind of condense it down a little bit, and we hope we like kind of expressed our love of the movie, and just kind of just from our perspective, we're not trying to be like the end conversation of it or anything. But
And there's only one way to end this podcast for your editing, which is the horror.
the horror.
The horror.
Okay, see you
Over
next
and
time,
out.
everyone.
See ya.
Take care.
And that's that.